This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. This is just kind of staggering to even hear this, but nearly 2 in 3 Americans, like 64% of us, more worried about going broke than we are worried about dying. When I say going broke, I mean getting to the point of retirement where you think that everything is all set to go. Those are stats from an annual retirement study from the Alliance Center for Future Retirement. Have you thought about retirement? Kind of depends on the age, but it's definitely something that definitely should be on your radar. And that's just a piece of what we're going to talk about today in terms of your finances, saving for retirement, minimizing your taxes, even Social Security. Lots to talk about here today. Her ultimate goal is to help grow and protect money with a mission of leaving no family behind. And she is a financial professional with Managed Wealth Financial. So great to have her back with us. Marie Selzer is on the program. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Steve. I'm doing well. Nice to be back.
Good to have you back here. And this is almost one of those things that a lot of us almost want to ignore. It's one of those topics like planning for your funeral and planning for retirement, because you know you should be doing it, but it's one of those things that, well, I'll get to it. Yeah, I don't want to deal with it right now because it's uncomfortable. Depending on your age, and maybe we could even look at some different ages, and let's focus on planning for retirement right now. What are some guidelines and things that you share with people when we are talking about retirement, how much to save, looking at interest rates, inflation, and all of that? By the way, side note, I'm financially illiterate. All of this stuff confuses me, but probably one of the reasons why I put it off to the side. But what can you tell us, as a starting point with retirement?
I think a good starting point is to consider your income and your needed expenses, rent or mortgage, and say maybe 50% of your income is going to those types of solidified expenses. And then if the next piece is what you're aiming to save for yourself, it's good to think about that next so that you actually save it. So if we're going for the 20% aim of saving, and then you have 30% left for spending. So just to kind of prioritize the saving before you go to the restaurant instead of grocery shopping, kind of thing.
So let's say you have some assets already, but you have the savings. How much of that should be liquid as opposed to how much you might be putting into investments? And I'm talking, with not a lot of risk, maybe a CD, things like that. Is there call it a magic number? And we want to have some cash liquid in case things come up. But is there anything, a guideline for that?
Yes, the emergency fund it's not a matter of if, it's when the car breaks down and you don't want to have to throw it on a credit card and increase the debt part of a budget. So having an emergency fund is definitely key. And there's a lot of high yield savings accounts available today. Betterment, SoFi. So an emergency fund, if you don't have one yet, I think 3 months is a good start to have 3 months of living expenses in that liquid account and work up to 6 months. And also that way, if you get sick and you can't work and your job is dependent on you showing up, you have that, you can live off of your emergency fund. So that's definitely a key part, keeping a lot of it liquid for the emergency fund. So if it's something that's new to you, aiming for 3 months is a good start. And I think 6 months is a lot more solid.
So, okay. So you look at how much to put aside for that emergency fund. But so what I'm getting from you is like, okay, let's look at my my monthly expenses and then times it by 6, say 6 months. That amount of money should be put aside only for emergency use, say.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
That bill, the flat tire.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Oh, yeah. And you never know. I mean, in this studio office right here, we had a sink that malfunctioned for 28 minutes. I know it because I'm doing a podcast. And I wasn't planning on it being a $2,500 deductible that I needed to pay. things come up, things happen. You never know, what's awaiting you, but you have to be prepared for it. Um, let's say you put aside 6 months as padding, the emergency fund. Would you say that whatever you have left would be something that you could put into somewhere your money's going to grow? And with that, I also wonder how much of that should be higher risk involved, or I guess it also depends on how much you actually have, right?
Yes, I like to think of a financial plan like a soccer team. You want to have your goalie. You need your goalie, have that in place. So have something that has no risk is is important. And there's a lot of products out there where you can have no risk and still play in the markets, and they just benefit when the markets go up, and they hold steady when the markets are going down, and as the markets come back up again, you got to play in them again. So you can still have higher earnings and take the risk out of it. So get your defensive players in place and your goalie. And once you have your defense in place, then you can have fun with the offense, and you can figure out how much you can do a riskier play with that, because once you're prepared to earn a lot, you also have to be prepared to lose a lot. So
Mm, Well, yeah, especially with the market in the past year being so volatile. You're in it for the long haul. So that's the reminder. We need to remind ourselves about that. I had so many friends, myself included, just I forget, it was the beginning of this year where things were like, a roller coaster ride, but they did equalize out after a little bit of time. Got to the point where I didn't even log in. I didn't even want to see it. I just, just let it do what it's
age
going
is
to do.
definitely a factor on that. Like, how far are you from when you're actually going to be retiring? So how long do you have to allow the markets to recover from a dip? And those come into play too. So
Mm,
if you're younger and you're putting your soccer team together, you can have more time for those offensive players to recover from an injury and get back on the field than you do if you're about going to retire in 5 years.
sure. And what about the amount of money you should put aside if you want to hit, let's say, $1 million at retirement? Let's just have like a
Mhm.
round number there. What should we be saving each month based on how many years we might be away from retirement?
Right. So if we play conservative and say we can assume a 5% interest rate, let's say, yeah, $1 million. If you're 40 years away from retirement, then a monthly investment of 650 a month is what it would take. If you're 25 years from retirement, 1,680 is what it would take. And if you're only 5 years from retirement, $14,750 a month. And that sounds like a lot to work on saving. So the sooner you start, the less painful it is for how much you're needing to put away each month. That compounding effect of starting sooner makes it a lot simpler.
Sure. Yeah, it's even looking at $1 million at a retirement in most areas, it's nice. It's not great. Unfortunately, when you look at what everything costs, and that also depends on whether you currently own a home, you already paid it off. Let's say you're in transition, life change, with divorce or whatever it might be, and you don't own something right now. Challenging, at that point when it comes to retirement, that mill probably not going to go that far, unfortunately, in today's numbers.
Yeah. When it comes to putting a personal pension together through uh, the products that allow you to have a yearly income based on putting a lump sum, if it was a 65-year-old single woman, $1 million would be about $75,000 a year.
Okay, interesting. All right, that's doable in many areas. Interesting to look at it that way, huh? Um, when a lot of this also depends on taxes, which is going to take a big chunk away from whatever you got. How about tax saving strategies? Anything that you could share with us that minimizing our taxes?
Yes. If there are limits for the Roth IRA, if your income is above a certain amount, then you're not able to contribute to a Roth. So if it's not there yet and you can contribute to a Roth, that's a wonderful vehicle for being taxed on the seed opposed to the harvest and paying the taxes as you put the money away. And then once you put it in a product and it grows, you get to harvest and keep it and not be affected by it by the time you're pulling it out. And I don't know, what do you think about how taxes are going to go? Do you think they're going to be more or less moving forward?
I'm in the New York area, so I'm going to go more. It's just
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I'm eventually going to move. And I grew up here, suburb of New York. But yeah, they're high. They're definitely high. I don't see any changes anytime soon.
Right. And I think many people who are working on putting money away at when it might seem more challenging while their children are at home, though those children are dependents. So as they become 18 years old, they're no longer dependents. That's another reason they may get higher. So yeah, getting taxed on the seed in the moment can save you a lot of money than being taxed on the harvest in retirement. And also by having less of your income in retirement be taxable, then the Medicare and the healthcare costs are less because the government isn't tracking the non-tax income.
Let's
So
let's
there's
say let's
yeah,
say healthcare is a big number. Let's say that you're not getting health insurance from your employer. Let's say that you pay out of pocket and you're not getting a lot of credit from the state. What is what can you deduct, if anything, from your healthcare costs?
let's see. I'm not specialized in the healthcare field. I
Gotcha.
don't really want to say
Yeah,
any
no worries.
specific
No,
answers to
no,
that one.
no. It just
I
popped in my
I think
head.
something when it comes to what employment covers or not,
Mhm.
life insurance is something people say, "Oh, I've got life insurance," and it's, "Oh, is it 50,000 through your employer?" Because by the time you get sick and you're no longer working for them, then that life insurance isn't going to be covering you. And then you don't qualify for life insurance outside of your work because you're already sick. So that's something to keep in mind as making sure you have proper coverage, so that this money that you're, you know, working on having be your life savings
Sure.
is protected for you and your family.
And certainly, to your point, if you're planning on it coming from your employer, and it doesn't matter how long you've worked at your job, there's no loyalty. I'm going to say it. You could be gone tomorrow. It's the way it is nowadays. The uh,
Right.
30, 40, 50 years ago where, they get the gold watch for being here for 20 years and you're going to keep on going. Anything could happen. So the more time you spend at getting older, um, your life insurance is going to cost you more. I mean, obviously with your age, the premium is going to go up. So yeah, certainly something to take a look at. What else can you share with us when it comes to, we'll just look at tax savings. Anything else there that
Right.
sticks in your mind?
Yes. So kind of a Swiss Army knife tool that we have is a life insurance retirement plan, also sometimes called an index universal life policy, an IUL. And so depending on how you structure them, a lot of the times we want to structure them in a way where you're putting aside money every month. And by the time you predetermine which age and you get as much life insurance coverage, the least amount of insurance coverage to protect the money for the product to function properly. And then when you turn a certain age, you get to flip the switch and that becomes a tax-free income every year. So not only does it give you life insurance outside of your employment, it also gives you a vehicle to grow money, tax-free money for your retirement. So that can be a beautiful thing.
I can't believe you brought that up because somebody just mentioned that to me about 2 weeks ago and it stuck in my head. From what I remember, not every life insurance company offers that type of option. That's what I understand. I'm not really sure. What do you know?
Yes. So, well, in our leadership and company, we're non-captive. We're not tied to any one company or another. We have over 150 A-rated or better companies on our platform, and each company has many products within that. That's one of the reasons I'm with Manage Wealth Financial is I like the fact that we really get to focus on the client and which specific product's going to serve them the most.
Sure.
And so yeah, they're not all the same. Like if you go research car on the internet, you get the Ferrari or the beat up, rusted old, needs a lot of work. There's a whole variety of the same type of product. So really making sure that it's set up properly for your goals and your aim and how you want it to serve you is important. And that's another reason having a financial planner with the resources and who knows where to go to structure it in a way that's going to be the Ferrari kind of car for you, or if that's, the kind of car you'd want it.
So it sounds like you cherry pick the right product for the client. It's not like you work with one company and they have four different products and we'll find the best out of the four that fit. It's almost as if the world is at your fingertips. That's what it sounds like.
In most states, New York is the most restrictive, but they still
Of
give us
course it
access to a
is.
few.
Thank you for that reminder, Marie. Yeah. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Let's say that you have $100,000 and it's, kind of to the side. Maybe you saved it. Maybe you've been getting reward points from credit card. Yeah, all of it. And this is in addition to, let's say, maybe you have some investments. Would you diversify that and find another place for that to go? And let's say you want to keep it a little liquid. You don't want to tie it up for a long period of time. Would a CD be, at a good rate, a viable option in your opinion, or what would you do?
I would probably do the UIT. So it's a security product. So this is something the reason I can talk about it is because I don't have my securities licenses yet. So my senior manager is not here talking to us about it because he needs to be. So I don't want to go into too much detail.
Well, there's a lot of
Or
compliance involved in that too.
yes, a lot
Every
of
word
compliance
is
involved.
scrutinized, right?
And yeah, so I'm glad I'm doing this as I prepare to take the test to get securities license and not afterwards, so I can have more freedom to be with you. But yeah, so it's a 15-month play, and you get to be in the markets, and you can also put a buffer on it. So they have a 15, 20, 30% buffer. And the larger buffer you have, the less of a cap you have. So I think, let's just say roughly, if you get a 20% buffer, in the last 20 years, the market's only dipped below 20% twice. So that's a pretty good deal. And so in 15 months from now, if you reach your cap, if it's a 13% cap and you make 30% on that money in the markets before the 15 months, you can pull it out and put it into the next thing because you've already made what you can from that. And if it goes, if it goes 15 below, you still get to keep what you put into it. If it goes 25 below and you got the 20% buffer, you lose 5% of it. So it's just a way you can play with the markets and be in them and still have that security aspect to it. So that can be those are neat. Those
Wow.
are fun.
What was that called again?
Universal Investment Trust, UIT.
Interesting. So what was that? Again, the rates are always changing, but what was that number you said? That was actually seemed very high.
To have a buffer or
No,
like a 13% cap.
was there what a reasonable expectation for what the money, how it could grow in terms of a percentage?
So it's growing with the markets. So if the
Okay.
markets are doing well and they're going, but it comes with a cap. So if you get the 20% buffer, you might have like a 15%. I don't even know exactly, but it has so if the markets go up 30%, you're only going to get up to the cap.
Gotcha. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's almost like climbing a mountain. And yeah, you want to get to the top, but if it's snowing at the top, you can stop at a certain ledge and you're going to be good. You have to worry.
Right.
You don't have to worry so much.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that. Wow, interesting. What else? What else do you want people to know, even about retirement? Maybe some things that we don't consider, maybe off our radar.
Right. I think the stat you brought up earlier, where 64% of Americans are more afraid of running out of money in retirement than they are of death. It's like that doesn't seem right. We live in one of the most, I know there's a lot going on, but one of the most peaceful times on the planet, and there's so much beauty all around us that why don't you want to stay around and soak it up and enjoy it? So having that peace of mind and knowing that you're going to be fine no matter how long you live, I
Mm,
think that can help people just be less stressed, be more healthy, and actually live longer if they just take care of that and understand it and work towards having one in place. Then you can thrive in your life. Money comes and goes. We never get our time back. So to be able to really have peace of mind and enjoy the time that we do have
mm.
is what's important.
You know what? Spot on with that. Thank you for saying that. And that's a great reminder where you can make more money. Might not be easy, but you can. You can't make more time. Once you lost it, the time is all, it's all we got. Once it's gone, that's it. No more coming back. Um, and you never know what's ahead of you, in terms of your health and such. So I'm going to ask a personal question here, Marie.
Okay.
When you look back at your life financially, is there something you look back at, and I believe that, get rid of the I should have, I would have. Everything's a learning experience. As you look back, do you look at it and say, I probably should have invested it, in that, or taken money and put it there? Anything, and maybe this is even before you got deeper into being a financial professional. Is there anything that stands out for you?
Yes, I am really grateful in the 2008 chaos. That's when I bought my home. And so I got my home at a really good price, and I lived in part of it and rented out part of it. And that's kind of what had been my nest egg.
Mm,
And I'm really glad that happened. And what inspired me to do that is I've always had animals. I'm an animal person. I've had animals all my life, and it was so hard to find a place to rent where I could
wow.
have my animals and just feel at peace. So that was what it wasn't money at all that incentivized me to have that nest egg in place earlier in my life. And I'm so glad that there was something else that drove me to do that. I think I just, and I don't know why, when we talked about the blocks in our first session, and I was uncovering some of those money blocks for myself,
Sure.
it was generational. I had my grandfather visiting me in these visualizations, and there's an image I have of him when he was 2 years old. My great grandfather was an engineer on the Panama Canal, and there's a picture of my 2 year old grandfather in my great grandfather's arms at the bottom of the canal before there's water going through it. Um, so he worked very hard for his living, and on my grandmother's side, her family had come from more wealth and were very judgmental about who she was marrying, and he was wonderful. I Gubba is what we all called him, and I he taught me archery. He was such a grounded, wholesome man that I learned so much from, and it was so fascinating to have him come up when I'm working on the money blocks and clearing that, and him like coming in a meditation, just showing gratitude, like, oh, thanks for that. You're finally letting it flow.
I appreciate the way you think about things, because it's all psychological. There's your subconscious. We've been conditioned, depending on your age, whether it's your parents, whether it's your grandparents, but they came from a place of scarcity. So
Yeah. The
generationally,
depression didn't help.
exactly where, we didn't have anything to eat except potatoes. My grandmother came on the boat from Ireland. I would hear that story all the time. Um, but subconsciously, that's placed in us where we have that belief and/or block that I'm never going to have enough money. I'm always going to be behind. And I'm not minimizing anybody in any situation. We've all been there in different forms. But would you say that if you believe that you're going to be in that situation, in financial turmoil for the rest of your life, if you believe it, you probably are going to be, because that's your belief. You're
You're
making that,
creating it.
you're
Yes.
creating it. Yeah. Yeah.
One of
It,
our leaders had a grandfather that would store money inside the walls and just was had that fear of it losing it when it like didn't trust banks, didn't trust just, and kept all the cash. Like, what if the house burned down? Like, there's better places for that. And just like
right.
real like kind of snapping out of it and be like, okay, yes, the times have changed, and we've all grown from those experiences, and we can move on and let it flow
Yeah.
more easily and have more peace of mind, and realize, what it's doing now.
Well, I guess it's being vigilant and being aware of things. I mean, credit card fraud. I know with
Yeah.
one set of credit cards that I use for business, you can have a virtual card. So you're not actually giving your card number out. It's a virtual one. So if something happens, not like you had to get another card, but I've been there where um, I just got a card replaced because somebody 5 states away at a convenience store was using my credit. Apparently, the number on the credit card. just keeping tabs of those things. I know it can be uneasy, especially for some older folks too, like wondering where the money's going to go. And I'll be honest, I was at the bank last week, and I'm just waiting at the counter, taking care of some stuff, and I see member FDIC and the explanation for it, how it's backed by the federal government and everything. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I wonder how backed it is. I have those thoughts. But there is, some insurance involved in that, or assurance involved in that, where your money is, backed by the government. This is we're just scraping the surface here in terms of what you offer in advising people as a financial professional in all different areas. And again, I love how you tap into the psychological aspect of things. I don't think I've ever met anybody that does what you do. So it's kind of refreshing. How do we find you? How do we, somebody's got some questions. Maybe they want you to take a look at what they're doing, maybe make some suggestions, consultation basis. How do we find you?
Yes, card/core wealth strategy is my virtual business card, and Zoom meetings are the best. In person is the best. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. So if you're anywhere close to there or coming here for a conference, then I'd love to meet up with you in person. And if that's not possible, Zoom, and even if you're hesitant on Zoom, like even just a phone call is fine. But yeah, so there's all the different options on that card/core wealth strategy.
And I just want to make that clear for everybody. And also we're going to put it on the screen, but it's DOT dot, like an actual dot, cards and /core wealth strategy.
Yes.
Got it. I also want to just say one final thing here today. You have a PhD, is that correct?
In geophysics.
That's probably why you think deeper. Just wondering. Yeah, very refreshing. Marie, thank you so much for being here today and all the insight. Really appreciate it. Everybody, let's start saving. Let's start saving. It's all good. Looking forward next time we get together.
Sounds good. Have a good time.
Thank you.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.